Welcome to Global Byte. Please subscribe and hit the bell icon for more breaking updates. In the theater of global power, few nations command as much attention, curiosity, and apprehension as China. Its rise has been nothing short of meteoric, transforming from a largely agrarian society into the world's second-largest economy in just a few decades. Now, as the world faces a period of uncertainty, all eyes are on China to see how it will navigate the turbulent waters ahead. The decisions made in Beijing are scrutinized by governments, businesses, and ordinary people across the globe, each wondering what the future holds. At the center of this global stage stands Xi Jinping, a leader whose vision and authority have reshaped China's trajectory. China stands at a crossroads, facing mounting domestic pressures and international challenges. The country's rapid growth has brought prosperity but also new anxieties, rising inequality, demographic shifts, and a population that is increasingly vocal about its expectations. President Xi, the most powerful Chinese leader since Mao, must balance projecting strength abroad with managing a slowing economy at home. His leadership is tested not only by foreign rivals but by the hopes and frustrations of over 1 billion citizens. The economic engine that once seemed unstoppable is now sputtering, with factories closing, youth unemployment rising, and investors growing wary. Meanwhile, the Chinese people are demanding more, better jobs, greater freedoms, and a higher quality of life. The government faces the delicate task of maintaining social stability while addressing these legitimate concerns. The world watches as decisions in Beijing ripple across continents, shaping global stability. Every policy shift, every diplomatic move sends shockwaves through financial markets and international alliances. The stakes are immense, from the sensitive issue of Taiwan, where tensions threaten to ignite a regional conflict, to efforts to elevate the renminbi against the US dollar, challenging the established order of global finance and trade. As new global fault lines emerge, alliances are tested and old certainties are upended. The world is entering a new era of competition and cooperation, with China at its heart. Can China achieve its ambitions without sparking catastrophe? Can it continue to grow and modernize without destabilizing the delicate balance of global power? And can Xi Jinping maintain his grip as pressures mount from every direction, both within his own party and from a restless population? The interconnected world means a crisis in China is a crisis for all. Economic shocks, political instability, or military conflict in China would reverberate far beyond its borders, affecting millions worldwide. This is a defining moment, one that will shape the future of international relations, global prosperity, and the very nature of power in the 21st century. The dragon's dilemma is now a matter of urgent global concern. The choices made today will echo for generations, determining not just China's fate, but the fate of the world. To understand China, you must understand Xi Jinping. Xi's rise was shaped by both privilege and hardship, forging his belief in the Communist Party's central role. Since 2012, he's consolidated power, launched anti-corruption drives, and abolished term limits, positioning himself as China's indispensable leader. His China dream promises national rejuvenation, combining domestic prosperity with global influence through projects like the Belt and Road Initiative. But his demand for absolute loyalty and tight control stifles dissent, creating a brittle system where bad news is often hidden. No issue is more dangerous for Xi Jinping than the question of Taiwan. For decades, the island has stood as a symbol of unfinished business for the Chinese Communist Party, a lingering reminder of the civil war that split China in 1949. For Xi, the stakes are personal and political. He has staked his reputation and legacy on the promise of national rejuvenation, with unification at its heart. In Beijing's eyes, Taiwan is not just a territory, but a core part of China's identity. Xi Jinping has repeatedly declared that reunification is inevitable, and he has woven this goal into the very fabric of his leadership. Propaganda campaigns, military parades, and official speeches all reinforce the message. Bringing Taiwan back into the fold is a historic mission that cannot be abandoned. Tensions escalated dramatically after a pivotal phone call between Xi and then President Trump, shattering decades of diplomatic protocol. Xi issued stern warnings to Washington, making it clear that any American support for Taiwan, especially arms sales, would be seen as a direct challenge to China's sovereignty. The world watched as headlines blared about the growing rift between the two superpowers. The United States, bound by the Taiwan Relations Act to provide defensive support to the island, finds itself in a delicate balancing act. On one hand, America's economic ties with China are deep and complex, with billions of dollars in trade flowing between the two nations. On the other, strategic mistrust and competition have only intensified, as both sides view Taiwan as a potential flashpoint for a much larger conflict. Meanwhile, China's military pressure on Taiwan has reached unprecedented levels. Almost daily, Chinese fighter jets and warships cross into Taiwan's air defense identification zone, testing the island's readiness and resolve. These incursions are designed not only to exhaust Taiwan's military resources, but also to send a clear message: Beijing is willing to use force if necessary. These aggressive maneuvers serve multiple purposes. Domestically, they rally nationalist sentiment and demonstrate Xi's determination to the Chinese public. Internationally, they act as a warning to both Taipei and Washington, signaling that China will not tolerate any moves toward formal independence or foreign interference. The Taiwan Strait has become a tense arena of brinkmanship, where military forces from both sides operate in close proximity. The risk of miscalculation is ever present. A single mistake, a misunderstood signal, or an accidental clash could quickly spiral into open conflict, drawing in regional and even global powers. As the world watches anxiously, the standoff over Taiwan remains one of the most dangerous flashpoints of our time. The fate of the island and the stability of the entire region hang in the balance. As Beijing ramps up its military and diplomatic pressure, Taiwan now finds itself grappling with a crisis that is as much about politics as it is about security. The island's leaders face a daunting challenge: how to defend their democracy in the face of growing threats, while also managing internal divisions and limited resources. In January 2026, after weeks of contentious debate, Taiwan's legislature made a controversial decision to slash its defense budget to just $10 billion. This figure is far below what military experts and allies believe is necessary for a credible defense against a potential Chinese invasion. The move shocked many, both at home and abroad, and immediately raised questions about the island's long-term security. The budget cuts threaten to undermine basic military readiness. From dwindling ammunition stockpiles to outdated vehicles and aircraft, Taiwan's armed forces now face shortages that could hamper their ability to respond quickly and effectively in a crisis. Logistics, training, and maintenance are all at risk, casting doubt on whether Taiwan could sustain a prolonged fight if conflict were to erupt. The decision has also alarmed Taiwan's most important ally, the United States. American officials have voiced deep concern, openly questioning why the U.S. should continue to invest billions in Taiwan's defense if the island's own government appears unwilling to do the same. The move has strained trust and complicated ongoing security cooperation. At home, the budget cuts have exposed deep political divisions. Lawmakers are split between those who argue for greater self-reliance and those who favor engagement with Beijing. Protests have erupted outside the legislature, with some citizens fearing the cuts signal a lack of resolve, while others see them as a step toward peace. For China, these internal divisions and the psychological impact of the budget cuts are as valuable as any military advantage. Beijing's state media has seized on the news, broadcasting messages that question Taiwan's will to resist and portraying the island as increasingly isolated and vulnerable. In Beijing, the budget cuts are seen as a significant crack in Taiwan's armor, a sign that the island's unity and determination may be faltering under pressure. Chinese officials are watching closely, calculating how these developments might shape the balance of power in the region. As uncertainty grows, the stakes for Taiwan's future, and for the stability of the entire region, have never been higher. The decisions made today will echo for years to come, shaping the fate of millions on both sides of the strait. Xi is also challenging U.S. dominance in the global financial system. The U.S. dollar's supremacy gives Washington immense leverage, but China is pushing to elevate the renminbi. Amid global uncertainty and a weakened dollar, Beijing sees an opportunity. Yet the renminbi's global role remains small, hampered by China's strict capital controls. To become a true global currency, the RMB must be freely convertible, something the party fears. China's strategy is incremental, promoting RMB in trade, developing a digital currency, and building alternatives to Western payment systems. The goal isn't to dethrone the dollar overnight, but to chip away at its dominance. As other nations grow wary of U.S. financial power, Beijing senses its moment. Xi's balancing act unfolds on a shifting global chessboard. The return of Trump has injected unpredictability, with tariffs and trade tensions unsettling allies and adversaries. China sees openings as U.S. alliances strain, but also faces risks from Washington's confrontational stance. The BRICS bloc, led by China, is exploring alternatives to the dollar, though progress is slow. Meanwhile, the EU seeks strategic autonomy, caught between U.S. security and Chinese economic ties. Middle powers are increasingly unwilling to pick sides, making the landscape more fluid than ever. Xi must navigate a world where the old rules no longer apply. While rivalry dominates headlines, China is quietly building alliances. Xi's diplomatic push is focused on Southeast Asia, exemplified by the recent launch of the Year of China-Laos Friendship. China's investment in Laos, including a high-speed railway, cements economic and political ties. In return, Laos supports Beijing on sensitive issues, a model China hopes to replicate across the developing world. China is also courting ASEAN nations, offering infrastructure, trade, and technology to build a buffer of friendly states. This long-term game aims to shift the region's loyalties away from Washington. Influence building, not confrontation, is at the heart of China's strategy. The quiet charm offensive is reshaping Asia's strategic calculus. Behind Xi's strongman image lie deep domestic challenges. China's era of rapid growth is over, replaced by slower expansion and a looming demographic crisis. Xi's centralization of power makes him personally accountable for any misstep. Elite politics remain opaque, with potential for factional rivalries beneath the surface. Nationalist foreign policy can rally support, but risks backlash if it triggers economic pain or isolation. Xi must balance satisfying domestic expectations with avoiding international crises. Every move is a calculated risk, with no safety net. The tightrope walk grows ever more precarious. We are at a hinge point in history. The power struggle between China and the US will define the coming decades. Recent events, Taiwan tensions, defense cuts, currency moves, and quiet diplomacy are all part of a larger story. Xi's ambitions face economic, demographic, and geopolitical tests, with Taiwan as the most dangerous flashpoint. A miscalculation could shatter global stability. A cooperative path could solve shared challenges. The choices made in Beijing and Washington will shape all our futures. Understanding Xi's pressures and ambitions is essential for navigating this new era. The world waits, watching for the dragon's next move.